Hi, my name is Elena. I'm 43 years old. A mother. A consultant. And for most of my life, I believed loyalty was enough. I believed that if you worked hard, if you were honest, if you gave your trust freely, the people around you would honor it. That was my philosophy. That was my rule. That was my shield. I was wrong. I smiled the day he betrayed me. Not because it didn't hurt, but because something inside me went quiet. Something that had been screaming, panicking, hoping, it just went silent. And when a woman in her 40s goes quiet, it's never the end of the story. It's the beginning of something entirely different, something you can't predict. Something powerful. Something that starts in the shadows, in silence, where no one is watching, where the world thinks you are broken. I was 43 when my life collapsed in the most polite way possible. No screaming. No broken plates. No dramatic exits. Just a conference room with frosted glass, a man I trusted with my future, and one sentence that changed everything. We're going in a different direction. That man was Armin, my business partner for 12 years, my closest friend. He was the one who held my hand in a hospital corridor after my divorce, promising me, no one will ever take advantage of you again. Not on my watch. And together, we had built a consulting firm from scratch. 2 laptops. 1 rented office. Endless coffee. I brought the clients. I built the systems. I trained the team. And he brought charm, connections, and a talent for letting others believe he was the smartest person in the room. 4 years, it worked. It was perfect. Until the day it wasn't. I remember that conference room like it happened yesterday. The hum of the air conditioner. The smell of lemon cleaner. The faint echo of footsteps from the office behind the frosted glass. Armin's voice was smooth, practiced, rehearsed, as he told me my role was no longer aligned with the company's vision. He slid a folder across the table. Inside, a severance package, a non-disclosure agreement, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You're firing me," I said calmly. "We're restructuring," he replied. Restructuring. Such a clean word for theft. Because while I was being escorted out of the company I had built from nothing, Armin was quietly transferring my clients, my strategies, my reputation, into his name. What hurt most wasn't the money. It was the betrayal. This was the man who called me his sister, who told my children they should be proud of me. I didn't cry in that room. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I thanked him, shook his hand, and walked out. Head high. Heart bleeding quietly inside my chest. The humiliation didn't happen in the room. It happened later, in whispers I wasn't meant to hear. Former colleagues stopped returning my calls. Clients I had personally onboarded sent polite emails saying they had decided to continue with Armin's leadership. LinkedIn posts appeared overnight. Armin celebrating his journey, his vision, his resilience. My name disappeared from the company website within hours. And at 43, I was starting over. Again. I remember sitting alone in my apartment that night. Still in my work clothes. City lights flickering outside my window. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just thought, I gave him everything. And he took it without blinking. For weeks, I lived in survival mode. Waking up early out of habit. Revising my resume, then closing it. Avoiding mirrors. Avoiding social media. The silence was the worst part. No one calls to check on you after a professional betrayal. There's no sympathy card for being erased. I started writing. Not for anyone, not even for myself at first, just writing timelines, notes, thoughts, everything that had happened. Every meeting. Every client. Every contract. Every promise broken. At first, it felt obsessive. Then it felt necessary. Then something shifted. Not anger. Not bitterness. Something quieter. Something that demanded clarity. One afternoon, I opened an old folder on my laptop. Early proposals. Internal emails. Client agreements. Documents from the company's infancy. I wasn't looking for revenge. I wanted closure. But what I found instead was truth. Most of the firm's intellectual property, the frameworks, the processes, the methodologies, were mine. Not collaborative. Mine. And many of them were registered under my original consulting entity, a small legal detail we never changed, because we trusted each other. Trust, a fragile thing. I remember the moment I realized it. My hands were shaking. My mind was racing. I had the proof. The evidence. The truth that could change everything. I felt a strange calm wash over me. Anger was still there, but it no longer controlled me. For the first time, I felt like the story wasn't over. I didn't act immediately. I waited. While Armin basked in the spotlight, I rebuilt quietly. Lawyers, not with rage, but with questions. Contracts, read calmly. Timelines, documented carefully. I learned something important. Revenge doesn't begin with confrontation. Revenge begins with patience. Observation. Quiet preparation. Months passed. Armin expanded too fast. Promised too much. Used my frameworks without understanding them. And I watched, not from afar, but from inside the industry. Clients reached out discreetly. Employees sounded uneasy. Vendors hinted at cash flow problems. I never spoke badly of him. I simply listened. And silence did what anger never could, it made people talk. Then came the email from a multinational company. They wanted clarification on a proposal Armin submitted. The framework was mine. Not inspired by, not similar to, mine. Word for word. Including a proprietary model I had never transferred. I forwarded it to my lawyer. He replied with one sentence. This changes everything. I didn't sue immediately. I waited until Armin signed his biggest deal yet. Press releases. Interviews. Applause. Then, quietly, legally, meticulously, I acted. Cease and desist letters. Audit requests. Ownership challenges, not to him, to his clients. Within days, congratulations stopped. Deals paused. Payments froze. Investors asked questions. Armin called me. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. And again. When I finally answered, he said, "We need to talk." I said, "I know. So do your lawyers." We met in another conference room. Different building. Different power. He looked older. Thinner. Confidence hanging on him like an ill-fitting jacket. "I never meant to hurt you," he said. That sentence, the one people use after they've already calculated the cost of your pain. "I know," I said. "You meant to benefit." He tried to explain. To minimize. To rewrite history. I didn't argue. I slid a folder across the table. Emails. Registrations. Timelines. For the first time, he wasn't explaining to me. He was asking. The settlement was private. Clean. Legal. Poetic. He kept his company, but lost the right to use my work. Paid restitution. Publicly acknowledged my role. His brand survived, but it was smaller, quieter, less admired. As for me, I didn't rush back. I rested. I breathed. I rebuilt on my terms. A year later, I launched my own consultancy. My name on the door this time. Clients came not because of flash, but because trust travels faster than lies eventually do. I spent months reflecting on everything that had happened. The betrayal. The silence. The humiliation. I realized that pain has a purpose. That sometimes, life strips everything away to show you who you really are. And I discovered something else. Power isn't loud. Power is quiet. Power is patience, clarity, and knowing your own worth when no one else will. One evening, my daughter asked, "Mom, were you scared when they took your company away?" I thought about the humiliation, the silence, the doubt. "Yes," I said. But I didn't let fear decide who I became next. That's the thing about revenge done right. It doesn't turn you into a monster. It returns you to yourself. I didn't destroy his life. I simply stopped letting him live off mine. Betrayal doesn't always come with enemies. Sometimes it comes with smiles and shared history. And revenge doesn't have to be loud, cruel, or immediate. Sometimes, the most devastating revenge is patience paired with truth. Because when you stay silent long enough, people reveal exactly who they are. And when you act not from rage, but from clarity, karma doesn't miss. It just takes notes. And in that silence, I found freedom. Not just justice. Not just victory. Freedom.